breaking developments tonight in Carol Evans' housing hustle investigation. Another major figure at the center of Minnesota's housing stabilization fraud scandal is now admitting guilt. Investigative reporter A.J. Legault is in St. Paul with the story.
Mr. Adal, can we ask you some questions?
Assad Adal did not want to talk outside St. Paul federal court.
How many vulnerable people did you leave sitting in a snowbank so you could line your own pockets?
But once inside, he admitted on the record that his company, Leo Human Services, ripped off taxpayers to the tune of $2.7 million while falsely claiming to help 250 people find housing.
How would you describe that $14,000 that was billed to your Medicaid?
Fraud on every level.
I never met with them. I've never even seen them.
Carol Evan first began investigating the BMW driving business owner earlier this year.
We have so much work to do. I mean, I'm being asked questions here.
Well, people say you're not doing work, that you're billing thousands of dollars for work that's not being done.
Let's take the proper channels, man. I'm doing everything I am correctly.
But that was not true. CARE's investigation exposed a family fraud factory operating out of this Blaine home. Assad's brother, Anwar Adal, was running another HSS company called Liberty Plus, also stealing from taxpayers and preying on vulnerable Minnesotans desperate to find a home.
And you're sitting there in the cold thinking, okay, any day now. And that any day never comes.
When agents raided the Adal brothers' home, they seized stacks of cash, tens of thousands of dollars hidden under a mattress and in a suitcase beneath the stairs.
How did you and your brother get involved in this HSS scheme?
As part of his plea deal, Assad admitted he used the millions he fraudulently billed to lease that BMW and buy property in Kenya.
How much money did you move overseas?
Both he and his brother have now pled guilty to wire fraud and face 4 to 5 years in prison when sentenced at a later date.
These federal fraud prosecutions are just beginning to ramp up.
Crazy work. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. All of these stories have a indirect cost to housing, either for those that are looking to buy their own home or for those that are looking to get assistance with housing, those that qualify, not you able-bodied people, but those that qualify. This video is in that vein. Minnesota is rampant with fraud. And what blows my mind is this. Why didn't the last administration find this out? What all of these departments that everybody's all up in a roar about not consolidating or getting rid of, what good are they when stuff like this is running around? When you look at these things, the first thing comes to my mind is whatever state that you're in, what kind of fraud is going on there? Because again, if you're elderly, if you're really disabled, some children of folks that are working that just don't have enough to hit the mark, if you will, that need that assistance, you got people like this stealing money. This is why reform needs to happen. Hi, my name is Robert, and on this channel, my goal is to simplify the home loan process.
So there's this basically huge fraud scheme that's unraveling in Minnesota. So it turns out that Minnesota has this program called the Housing Stabilization Services Program. And of course, Minnesota is home to this guy, Tim Walz, which of course puts the whole story on Donald Trump's radar. So now we have this breaking news that Trump is terminating the temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota. So the backstory here is that Minnesota went on a mission to create their own huge welfare system, and they did, and they basically kept expanding their own state-level House and Human Services Department. And for a state, honestly, it's pretty big. It grew from $15 billion in 2022 to $23 billion in this next fiscal year, and basically 42% of all new spending goes to this welfare system that they're setting up. And most of it goes to this Housing Stabilization Services Program, which became this whole snowball of fraud. And the thing with this HSS program is that they designed it in Minnesota as an honor system, which I gather means that you could basically go and spend the money first and then get reimbursed by the state. And the logic here was that if you needed housing, then you should basically be able to go and just pay for it without getting approval of anything and then charge it back. Turns out that was catastrophic. So you have like Some defendants, these people that called themselves brilliant minds, they defrauded the government of about $2.3 million. You have this other one called Liberty Plus Housing Consulting, where the owner was driving a Mercedes and telling his employees to bill as much as they could. Looks like they got about $1.2 million in fraudulent Medicaid funds. So then the state did this emergency executive order where they're terminating the program. But that just kicked off this whole other investigation, which honestly was crazy because then it gets into autism, where basically people start looking into the number of autism service providers in the state, and it turns out that they've increased by 700% over the past 5 years, going from 41 providers to 328, a 3,000% increase in billing to $192 million. So basically, it seems like Minnesota was doing so much in terms of setting up these fraudulent autism centers that it was actually driving the autism statistics for the nation higher. Then it turns out that Al-Shabaab is getting a bunch of taxpayer money. And then it gets into people investigating this organization called Feeding Our Future that was getting more taxpayer money. And one of the things that set that investigation off is that this person who was also defrauding the autism program got $14 million and bought real estate in Kenya with this money. But then it starts to tie into these high-profile Minnesota politicians like the mayor. So it turns out that the mayor's aide actually pleads guilty in a $250 million scheme to defraud taxpayers, and it looked like maybe some of the money was making it to the mayor. So now the mayor is going to have to testify in court.
Fraud is rampant in Minnesota, as you can see from these two reports. Here's the deal. If this is going on in Minnesota, it's going on elsewhere. It's important for us to root these things out because a lot of these folks that are the loudest tend to be the ones that are stealing. And so if it's not you, don't put the shoe on. But if it's you, I'm talking to you. And so I hope they find all the bad actors. And if you've been acting in the wrong manner, here's the deal. I'll take it back to the PPP prison situation. They've extended that statute of limitation to 2030. And it looks like these folks are gearing up to round people up. Look, man, righteousness is always the way. If you're going to get persecuted, be persecuted for righteousness' sake. You can't be complicit. Two wrongs don't make a right. What do you guys think? Do you think there might be fraud in your state dealing with programs like this that affect housing and the housing stock? Folks buying homes, folks getting the assistance they need via housing and all of the other areas. If so, hop down in the comment section, express yourself. Just do so respectfully. My time is up, but I thank you for yours. As I always say, let's be good to one another. Let us let grace abound. And until the next time, indeed, y'all stay blessed.